We live in a world obsessed with certainty, with image, with control. The world rewards those who have a plan, a timeline, a polished persona, and it quietly punishes those who don't. So when someone shows up without a map, without fear, without the usual armor of seriousness, the world labels them foolish, irresponsible, naive. But Carl Jung would argue the opposite, that the fool is not someone lost, the fool is someone free. The fool is the archetype of zero, the beginning before beginning. In tarot, he's the first card, but also the last. He exists outside the linear path. He doesn't calculate. He moves by instinct, curiosity, surrender. He steps off the cliff without knowing what's at the bottom, and that's what terrifies people, because most of us have built our lives around avoiding that kind of risk. The modern psyche is addicted to preparation, to overthinking, to making sure we never look stupid, never make mistakes, never fall behind. But this obsession with control, Jung would say, is the ego trying to survive. And the fool is the soul breaking free. The fool represents the part of you that's still alive underneath all the strategy, the child, the wanderer, the artist, the mystic, the one who doesn't ask, is this the right thing to do? But instead asks, what is this moment asking of me? The fool doesn't need approval. He doesn't chase applause. He doesn't need a 5-year plan to justify his next step. He trusts the impulse. And that's why people fear him, because he moves in a language they've forgotten how to speak. To embody the fool is to choose presence over performance, to walk forward without the story, to let go of the polished image and be seen as you are. That's radical. That's terrifying. That's liberating. You see, we're told from a young age, be smart, be careful, be impressive. But what we're rarely told is, be empty, be available. Be foolish enough to try something without knowing how it ends. That's where creativity lives. That's where new life begins. Not in the rigid mind, but in the playful unknown. And if this content is making sense to you, then click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Because maybe you don't need another plan right now. Maybe you don't need another self-help checklist. Maybe you need to remember the part of you that danced before there was music, the part that tried things just to feel alive, the part that wasn't afraid to look foolish because it hadn't been taught shame yet. That's who the fool is. And the moment you stop running from that energy, people treat you differently, not because you're louder, but because you're lighter. The secret wisdom of the fool and why he's always 10 steps ahead. People think the fool is behind, like he missed the memo, like he's naive or lost. But what they don't see, what Jung saw, is that the fool is actually ahead. Not ahead in the way society measures progress, but ahead in freedom, in clarity, in alignment. The fool lives a different timeline. He's not rushing, he's not performing, he's not keeping up, because he never agreed to play the game in the first place. You know who's really trapped? The one with the checklist. The one who always says the right thing, does the right thing, never steps out of line. They look polished, but they're often exhausted, because their whole identity is wrapped in getting it right, and every misstep feels like death to the ego. The fool, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't collapse when he messes up. He laughs. He starts again. He adapts. That's wisdom most people never reach. You can't manipulate someone who doesn't need approval. You can't control someone who isn't afraid of uncertainty. You can't shame someone who owns their imperfections. That's the power of the fool. He moves lightly, not because he's careless, but because he's aware, deeply aware that nothing is permanent, no identity is fixed, and the game is all just that, a game. The fool wears no mask, and because of that, he sees through everyone else's. He doesn't need to expose them. He doesn't judge them. He just keeps walking. And as he walks, he inspires something ancient in others, a forgotten hunger to be real again, to live without so much armor, to return to the joy of not knowing. There's a reason so many spiritual traditions are built around paradox. The one who knows he knows nothing, knows the most. The one who loses everything gains peace. The one who lets go of the outcome always ends up where they're meant to be. That's the fool's map. He doesn't follow rules, he follows resonance. And in doing so, he arrives exactly where he needs to be without striving. This is not recklessness, it's rootedness in self, in source, in the moment. And once you feel that kind of inner alignment, you stop needing to predict everything. You stop needing to prove anything. You stop needing to be seen in a certain way. You just live, freely, unapologetically, light on your feet, full in your presence. The fool isn't behind you, he's ahead. He's the version of you waiting at the edge of your old patterns, ready to take that next step, even if you don't know where it leads. Why the fool is closer to happiness than everyone else. You spend your life trying to be taken seriously, in school, in your career, in relationships. You tighten your tone, polish your words, posture yourself just right. You play the part, and the whole time you're told this is the path to happiness, stability, success, respect. But deep down, a question lingers. If I'm doing everything right, why do I still feel so tense, so tired, so disconnected? Carl Jung would say it's because you've mistaken seriousness for meaning. You've mistaken structure for truth. And in the process, you've buried the one part of you that never needed a reason to feel joy. The fool. The fool is closer to happiness than everyone else. Not because he avoids pain, but because he doesn't grip it. He doesn't try to outthink life. He lets life move through him. And when joy arrives, he doesn't overanalyze it. He plays, he dances, he laughs. Not because everything is perfect, but because he knows perfection was never the point. You think you need more to be happy, more money, more approval, more answers. But the fool doesn't need more. He needs less. Less control, less image, less fear of looking foolish. Because the thing stealing your happiness isn't your lack of achievement, it's your fear of letting go. You're holding on so tightly to how you think life should look, that you're missing the joy that's already available in what is. The fool doesn't miss it, because he's not rushing to the next thing. He's not trying to win. He's not measuring himself against anyone else's timeline. He's just in it, alive, receptive, unburdened. That's why he's often depicted at the edge of a cliff, eyes up, heart open. He trusts the moment. He trusts the process. He trusts himself, not in the way of confidence, but in the way of surrender. And the irony? That surrender is what makes him invincible. He doesn't resist failure. He welcomes it as part of the game. He doesn't resist endings. He walks through them like doorways. He doesn't resist not knowing, because that's where wonder lives. Happiness isn't hiding in your future. It's not waiting on the other side of success. It's here, in your willingness to stop gripping, in your ability to play again, in your courage to look foolish for choosing peace over pressure, presence over performance, joy over justification. You don't need to understand everything to be happy. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to stop betraying the part of you that already knows how to feel joy. The part that giggles in quiet moments. That follows curiosity, that dances without music. That feels deeply, this is enough. That part, that's the fool. And he's been waiting for you to stop pretending you have to be anything else. How to live like the fool, and why that's the smartest choice you'll ever make. There's a reason the fool is card 0. He doesn't begin the journey, he is the journey. He's not trying to become someone. He's returning to something ancient, something playful, something whole. And when you choose to live like the fool, you're not giving up your intelligence. You're reclaiming your aliveness. Living like the fool doesn't mean you stop planning. It means you stop worshipping control. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop contorting. It doesn't mean you throw away responsibility. It means you carry it with lightness instead of fear. To live like the fool is to risk being misunderstood. It's to stop performing seriousness so people think you're credible. It's to speak with wonder, not because it's strategic, but because it's true. It's to take a step before you're sure, knowing that the next will appear after. It's to follow resonance, not rules. To trust inner guidance more than external validation. And yes, sometimes you'll fall. But you'll fall honestly, and you'll get back up free. Because here's what nobody tells you. The smartest people in the room often feel like fools. Why? Because they've let go of ego. They've traded certainty for curiosity. They've stopped clinging to the safety of being right and started chasing what's real. They've realized that all the strategies in the world can't replace the power of someone who's present, unpolished, awake. The fool isn't fearless. He just knows that fear is part of the path, that making mistakes is proof of motion, that being too much is better than living half asleep. And when you live that way, when you embody that clarity, that humor, that grounded lightness, people treat you differently. They pause, they soften, they listen, because you're not offering a performance, you're offering presence. You don't need to abandon logic, just loosen it. You don't need to become reckless, just real. You don't need to have all the answers, just the courage to say, I don't know, but I'm going anyway. That's the fool, and he's not lost. He's free. If you made it this far, you're not just watching, you're remembering, returning, reclaiming your inner ground. So trust that the video YouTube shows you next, the one appearing now, is not random. It's the next doorway, the next layer, and it will meet you exactly where you are. If this resonated, take a moment to subscribe. Drop a comment below, not for the algorithm, but to mark this chapter in your journey. We'll see you in the next depth. Depthoria continues.